Welcoming you to a life of awareness, the Presence Project is excited for you to join us for today's podcast with your host, Paul Kerzner.
Hello and welcome to episode 24 of Are You Being Present? My name is Paul Kerzner. I want to welcome you to the present moment. I want to welcome you to the here and now. And I want to thank you wholeheartedly, sincerely, and deeply for joining me in this beautiful and wonderful present moment. The title and topic for today's podcast is Simplifying the Present Moment. I chose this topic for many reasons, but primarily because I have seen with almost all the patients that I've worked with, as well as myself, that we have this innate behavioral trait in Western society to complicate situations unnecessarily and sometimes unconsciously. I wanted to take time to address this in an effort to bring some attention to the fact that we don't have to do this to ourselves. And the way to stop it is to shine some light on what is happening and then to move forward into how to change that. So simplifying the present moment is as much a presence tool as anything else that I've spoken about in the past. There's so much beauty in simplicity, yet we always look for more. We allow our thought stream to get the best of us. We start using labels on people, places, and things. And all of a sudden, something that was so simple turns into something that is so complicated. Simplicity is a beautiful state of being. And it is synonymous with being present. Because if you're truly being present, if you're truly living in the present moment, you see simplicity in all things, in people, places, things, whatever. You see them for what they are, not for what you imagine them to be. And as our society develops, as technology becomes more pervasive, as we become more distracted, things get more complicated. We have more tasks going on. We have more people in our lives. We have more things to accomplish in our day. And it really takes an effort to take a step back and look at the landscape. And more importantly, look at your behavior and your interaction with the present moment to see that it is you that are complicating things, that it doesn't have to be like that. And really, it tends to be an unconscious behavior for most people. We don't even realize that we're creating all of these situations for ourselves that don't really need to be there. And we're doing this because we're dominated by a thought stream whose voice is the ego. And it is your ego that is really only serving itself. It doesn't have your best interest in mind. In some way, it's trying to protect you, but in other ways, it's really just distracting you. It distracts you with different thoughts, with different emotions, and 95% of those have nothing to do with the present moment. So now is the time to look around and to think to yourself and say, why am I complicating my life? Why am I making things hard when they don't need to be? So now is the moment to let go and to trust and to surrender more than anything to the present moment with the understanding that everything's okay. And that is actually one of the bigger challenges is our understanding or actually our belief that things are not okay. And that's where complication begins because you start telling yourself stories. It's this narrative that distracts us and pulls us out of the present moment. And it's all created in your mind. It has nothing to do with the present moment. The present moment has absolutely nothing to do with the narrative and story that you're creating. And I want to be really clear here that if you're being present and you're living in the present moment, then you're living in a state of grace. You're living in a state of simplicity and allowance. Anything else is just a complication. And when I first opened up my clinic, it was definitely a challenge for me to start a small business from scratch. And there were many times where I created a lot of different stories and complexities where there didn't need to be. Now that I'm a couple years in and I have a dedicated patient base, it's a lot easier for me to take a step back and look at the landscape, look at the situation, and be a little bit more okay with the ebb and flow of being a small business owner. I like to use that analogy. I like to use that reference point because when you're going through something, especially in the beginning, it's so easy to tell yourself negative stories about what's happening or what might happen. And that's just a complication. If you can take a step back and look at things for what they are and be clear about your desires and your hopes and your wishes, really only paying attention to the things that make you feel good, you can create that for yourself. But unfortunately, a lot of us tend to focus on the negative, on the things that we don't want, on the feelings that we want to push against. And what happens? We only get more of that. And that is a complication. And that is a distraction. So again, I implore you, simplify your life. Simplify your surroundings. Understand that everything is happening in the most beautiful of ways. That everything that you need, you have available to you. And all the help that you could ever want is right there for you. But if you focus on the feeling state of lack, you'll get more of that. Of unhappiness, you'll get more of that. So simplify. Find the beauty in each and every moment. Use a presence tool like gratitude to help shift you into the present moment in the most simple of ways. It's so easy. And that's one of the things that I tell my patients and the people that I coach, is that this is not rocket science. This is easy. It's not complicated. It's easy. And anyone can do it. And it's so simple. Ask yourself the question that I have asked you and myself so many times. Are you being present? Am I being present? Does this feeling space have anything to do with the present moment? It doesn't get any more simple than that. Instead of letting your mind run amok, instead of creating stories that have nothing to do with anything, that do not serve you, that distract you, that hurt you, take a step back. Look, listen, feel in the present moment. And more importantly, simplify, because that will ground you into the here and now. Talking about a topic like this, raising awareness to the fact that we complicate our lives is so important. This needs to be in our conversation. This needs to be in our reality. We have to pay attention to our behavior, to the things that we're seeing and feeling. We cannot be unconscious. That way, we have a say. We have a choice. We can choose how we want to feel. We can choose to enter into a better state of existence. And it is so simple. And you could be sitting there thinking about, how can I do this? How does this work? It's not working for me. You know what? If you feel like that and you're thinking like that, that's all you're going to get is more of that. So join me in simplifying life, in simplifying the present moment, in being in the present moment more than anything. And I know that sometimes I tend to be a little bit repetitive, but you know what? That's okay, because it takes repetition to remind us how important it is to be in the here and now, to value the present moment, to set aside the memories of the past and the worries of the future, to simplify our lives so that we don't have to create an internal sense of strife, to create self-inflicted suffering more than anything. That's a terrible waste of time. It's a terrible waste of energy. So simplify. Think about that word. That word feels good. It is an open-ended word. It makes sense. Simplify. Join me in simplifying the moment, and join me in the present moment. As always, I am so grateful for everyone that listens to the podcasts and everyone who is a member of our Facebook group. You know, this movement is so important for so many reasons. Presence is at the heart of all of our realities. And it is something that we need to earn day in and day out. It's not something that can be bought or given. It can be taught, that is true, but it must be earned. So I implore you to create your mindfulness practice, to do your meditations, your affirmations, your readings, whatever speaks to you, to remember to simplify your life, to simplify the present moment, to ask yourself how you're complicating your current situation. You know, once you can present these kind of questions like, am I being present? You know, amazing things come up. And all of a sudden you get a really unique perspective of clarity. And it's so beautiful. You know, sometimes patients, they sit in front of me and they ask me how I got to be the way I am, because it's completely transparent. But my daily practice for years has earned my presence. My insistence upon looking at my life and seeing how I've complicated it and then working towards a more simple way of being has allowed me to earn my presence. And it is not a hard thing to do. It just takes effort. So listen to my other podcasts, read my blogs, join the Facebook group. These are all the tools that I'm providing to you so that you can learn how to be present, so that you can join us in the present moment, so that you can live a simple life without complication. Yes, there are challenges. There will always be challenges and opportunities, but they don't have to be complicated. And that's the message of this podcast. So please, take a moment right now. Think about your life. Think about the challenges and opportunities that exist. And think about how you, singularly, are either complicating them and making them more difficult, or that you're simplifying them. Understanding that they're for your greatest interest, that they're really helping you, and that everything is okay. Because remember, you have a choice. You can choose to be present, and that all is unfolding in the most beautiful of ways.
Thank you for listening to the Are You Being Present podcast, brought to you by the Presence Projects. Remember, you have a choice. Choose to be present.